Welcome to one more episode of Terror Fiction. If you like the video, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like to this video. That helps me to keep bringing you content. One night I traveled on the Mexico City subway. I discovered the terrifying reality. I haven't been able to sleep for days after what happened. I don't know if anyone is really going to believe me, but the truth is that I don't care. I arrived in the city with my family not long ago, and due to the lack of jobs due to the pandemic, I only managed to get a job as a housekeeper in the shrimp station. As you know, that whole line is underground, on a level almost impossible to believe. I had heard before some stories of people who, during the earthquake of 1985, were at that station. The point is that this place is so deep that it is practically isolated from the outside, so when the people managed to get out they found a destroyed city. Since then it is said that it is an extremely safe place, and I always believed it too. However, now I can't even get within 5 meters of there anymore. It all started last Wednesday, November 30th. I left work very late and very tired. I live in an unsafe neighborhood in Xochimilco, so for a moment I considered taking a taxi. However, for someone who earns little like me, that is equivalent to not eating one day of the week. Similarly, taxis are known to be a dangerous space for women at any hour. Anyway, it was 11:30 at night, so I thought that, hopefully, I would be able to make it to Taxqueña in time to catch the light rail to Tipan. Upon entering the station everything looked normal. There was a dog at the entrance sheltering from the cold. The last ticket saleswoman was leaving the ticket office and the policeman said good night to me at the turnstiles. I remember that he even managed to say good luck on your return, which seemed normal to me, since we met often and we always greeted each other. I remember that while I was going down I noticed a couple of people in front of me. Anyone who lives in the city knows that we Chilangos are always alert to practically anyone. For this reason, I took my hands out of my pants, not to be the bad one. As I descended I could see that these people were covered from head to toe. They basically wore long trench coats and hats. I managed to notice that they looked somewhat pale, and I supposed that perhaps they were foreigners. Although I was alert, nothing happened. Upon reaching the platform, after going down countless stairs, those people who were in front of me moved to the end of the corridor. They practically stuck to the wall that limits the end of the station. I decided to stay more or less in the center to be relatively close to the exit. Other times I have had to leave late, so I know that the metro usually takes a long time to start its last trips. Despite this, I continually peeked into the arrival tunnel, in case I saw it coming. I had already been waiting for about 5 minutes when I suddenly heard a kind of fluttering noise coming from the other end of the platform. It was a violent noise that, however, lasted less than the time it took me to turn my head to look in that direction. For a moment I thought I had imagined it. And perhaps I would not have paid more attention if it were not because, at that moment, I realized that the people who had been in that place until a few moments ago had disappeared. Suddenly being alone in that place was something she didn't count on. So I began to experience fear like never before in my life. Still, I tried to calm down. There must be some explanation. As I could, I started to walk towards what was now that empty space. When I got to the same wall where I had seen them recharged before, I couldn't notice anything special. I tried to peek into the tunnel on that side, imagining that, through some madness, they had descended and were now there. To my surprise, when I thought I saw movement in the background, a putrid smell came from the other side of the platform. When I turned to see where it was coming from, I was horrified to find that the two people were now not only at the opposite end, but also that they had crossed over to the opposite platform. I quickly tried to figure out how they could have made so many moves without me noticing. I was paralyzed but thinking, when suddenly I noticed that there were other people, if they can be called that, advancing towards that place. To my surprise, they moved kneeling, glued to the wall that is under the platform, that space that is near the tracks and under where one stops when waiting for the train. In the distance, the first two presences that arrived with me looked towards where I was. I thought I saw a smile on their faces. Not know what to do. Should I run towards the stairs where I came from? Or maybe I should go into one of the tunnels and try to get to the next station like that? I didn't quite understand what was happening. Until 5 minutes ago my biggest fear was running out of cell phone. Now he feared that he would die or worse. While I was still paralyzed by fear, the other presences had already arrived with those who were watching me from afar. Although I was at a considerable distance, my eyes, already adapted to the dim light in the tunnel, reacted and gave new shapes to what until then had been shelters for me. Even from a distance I could see it perfectly. It wasn't wool that looked like a cloth. It was hair. I soon confirmed this, when one of them tripped another and the latter, in revenge, bit him on the shoulder, making him bleed a kind of black liquid. The two who were standing on the platform began to make the same noise as before, and what was my surprise when I noticed that the sound did not come from their mouths but from their hats. These opened and closed rapidly. What? Was what I was seeing, in reality, his jaws opening and closing? I thought I would faint at any moment. What was happening was too much for me, or whoever, to bear. At that moment I felt that all was lost. I couldn't decide to run, because I really couldn't move. However, all of a sudden, they began to direct their attention towards the stairs, as they all began to sway in elation. My hearing sharpened rapidly and I was able to notice that steps were descending from the stairs. I was afraid that more of these things were coming through that place. But, at least for a moment, a light of hope appeared before me. From the corridor that led to the stairs the guard appeared, yes, that guard who greeted me every day. But what happened then only brought things to a new level of horror. When the policeman appeared on the platform, he appeared to be doing one last routine round. However, far from being frightened, all the creatures began to make that obscene movement with their hats. When he was in front of them he said something like the following. I thought it would take longer. Here I bring you this for dessert. I'll go look for the body in the tunnel. When they leave say hello to the Queen. As he said this, he threw the carcass of the dog he had seen earlier at the station entrance. However, suddenly the policeman noticed that the creatures continued to move as if waving and that they only looked at the dessert that was thrown at them. At that moment he seemed to understand suddenly that I was still there somewhere, and he quickly located me. He started running fast towards where I was, and as he got closer he was saying, "Damn, it's the third time this month that only people come down who don't scream when they see them. They're supposed to yell when they notice them. That makes them hungry. You stupid apes." When the policeman finished pronouncing this, my body reacted. Maybe for being in front of something minimally known, maybe just because it wasn't my time, I will never know. The only thing I could think of to do was run with all my might towards the tunnel, repeating to myself, "Don't scream. Don't scream. Don't scream. Whatever happens, don't scream." I did the tour almost automatically. I guess my brain searched for a way to protect itself. That's why I don't remember anything until the moment I left for the next station. There were about 10 people at that station. I remember someone saying that a bus broke down nearby about 5 minutes ago, and that several police patrols agreed to take people to the nearest station. The damage from that transport was what saved me. Some people came up to me to ask why I had come out of the tunnel. However, all I could do was vomit. I think everyone there thought I was a drug addict who had just had a fit. When I recovered the minimum necessary to continue fleeing, I thought about whether I should wait for the subway with all the people, or if I should try to get out. I was about to stay, when at the end of the platform I noticed one of them there. Like his peers, he was stuck to the bottom, with that coat and hat that was the meat of his meat. Again, in a trance, I approached the stairs and went up to the entrance of the station. I know that thing was looking at me the whole time. But I knew he wouldn't do anything to me unless I screamed and was alone. When I reached the highway, I got into the first taxi I found. I told the driver to take me to Xochimilco. He must have noticed that I was pale and he didn't ask me anything. As I could, I called my parents, asked them to pick me up at a nearby gas station. They also noticed my tone and just told me we're on our way. When I got to the place, my parents were waiting, visibly dismayed. I told the driver to leave me where they were. When he was parking, he said to me, "You know, I was once a subway policeman at another station." My skin turned icy, I felt my hair stand on end. He continued, "Never take the train again. If she has come out alive from that, she has only gotten a better taste. It will no longer be for the small table. Those above will be waiting for her." I got out of the cab just as he sped off. My parents told me that after that I slept for 3 days, and the following days there has only been insomnia at night. When I woke up, I told my parents, however I could, what happened. Right now, as I write, we are traveling with a move to another state. If you liked the video, please share it with your friends and subscribe to the channel so we can bring you more content.